Okay, welcome to the Mount Hope Chamber of Commerce 2023 Political Forum. I'm your moderator, Jimmy Trapani. So this event is being recorded by the Mount Hope News in our partnership with the Mount Hope News. Hopefully this continue going forward for all of our other political forums going forward. So real quick, we want to introduce our city council candidates. They're all in alphabetical order. So we have Dan Dack, James Green, Scott Harjo, Brendan McCarthy, Max Satterfield, and Jenny Workman. So just go over some rules real quick. The candidates will have questions from the audience based on the first come, first sign up system. Well, they're going to be alternating positions. So Mac drew the first one, so he'll be going first here in a couple seconds. Each audience member will be allowed one question. Follow-up questions will be permitted if time allows, and everyone has had an opportunity to address the candidates. Please keep questions direct, simple, and to the point. Candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to each question, rotating who will answer first. If a question is directed towards one particular candidate, only that candidate will respond. Candidates will not be permitted for rebuttal. We have timekeepers in the back. They'll be helping enforce the time constraints. We ask the candidates, those asking the questions, to please be respectful of those constraints so that we may address as many questions as possible. As moderator, I will enforce the allowable times so everyone has an opportunity to be heard. We all agree political discussion can be polarizing. Our goal in this event is to provide as much information about each candidate as possible by answering as many questions as possible. We ask the candidates, those asking questions, and others in the audience to keep your questions simple and to the point. Be civil and respectful so that this forum can be as productive as possible. We will wrap up this evening with the closing remarks from each candidate. So right now our schedule, we should be doing City Council closing comments at 7:15. It'll be done by about 7:25, and then we'll take a 10-minute break, and then the mayoral candidates will come up until about the 9 o'clock hour. Okay, so now that we have all the pleasantries aside, I will let Max Satterfield come up and introduce himself for 2 minutes.
Good evening, my name is Max Satterfield. I'm originally from Ohio. I was first introduced to Idaho when I was 14, and when I went out to Shelley, I moved to Pike. 2 rows at a 4-inch, 2 rows at 3-inch, 32 each row. Happy for me, by the way. After high school, I went to Texas. I was an iron worker / oil maker's helper for about a year and a half. Then I decided I wanted to further my education. I went back to Ohio, where I went to a community college and the Ohio State University. After college, I went to the Air Force active duty, where I kicked off my career as LRS, which is formerly known as supply. Then I retrained over into EOD, which is explosive ordnance disposal. During 14 years, I deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, Kuwait, and did a tour in Korea. After, in 2014, there was a program called Terra, where you can take an early retirement. I applied for that program, and I was accepted. So I did just shy of 16 years of active duty Air Force, where I was able to go ahead and take full retirement. After my retirement, I applied for the city as a police officer, where I was hired. I did 5 years as a city police officer here in Mountain Hill. A year and a half of that was as patrol, and 3.5 years I was a detective. I also did 1 year as a reserve after my completion of city officer. My family, I have my lovely wife who is a small business owner. She owns 2 businesses in this town. She's very successful at it. I had 2 older kids. One who just graduated University of Utah with speech pathology with her master's. My oldest son is back in Ohio. My 2 younger kids, one's in 8th grade and one is a junior in high school. And my mother just recently moved out here, and she is loving Idaho as I love Idaho, and I've been here 14 years. Thank you.
Green, I'm the current city councilman. Me and my wife moved out here about 5 years ago, not long. We were looking for a way community to raise our soon-to-be adopted daughters who are now adopted. And we looked everywhere, but we settled on Mountain Home. As soon as I got here, it was time to kind of roll the sleeves and get involved. Sure. Better. How about now? There we go. Okay. So, moved out here. As soon as we moved out here, I decided to get involved. Spent 4 years on the library board before being asked to fill in to the vacated city council seat, which I've done since December. We love this town. We're here to stay. And we're here to make Mountain Home great.
I think we still have another minute, but I'm Dan Dack. I've been here for a long time. So in 1993, I joined, after I graduated high school, I joined the military to get away from Spokane, Washington, which, yeah, it turned out pretty good there. Anyway, so 3 years in, I took an assignment to Mountain Home to extend my contract with the military. And that's what brought me here to Mountain Home, and I needed some more excitement, so I joined the police department reserve program my last year as military. Honorably discharged from the military in '98, and have been with the police department ever since for 23 years, and then up until 3 years ago, where I decided I was going to stop it all and be a stay-at-home father. We had our daughter, and after 4 boys, having a daughter was life-changing, and something that I really, really wanted, and my wife can attest to that, but I wanted to spend as much time with her as I possibly could. So, and the world was turning to crap with COVID and all that, so it was time to get out. There were some other issues and things like that, but I think it was for the best, and everything's turning out amazing, and I love everything. So, I was a DARE officer for the longest time. Some of you I taught, some of your kids I taught. I was detectives, community affairs, training. There was a number of different things. Worked my way up to sergeant. Handled a lot of people. So, other than that, I have a small business. I do crazy leather stuff, and you know, and people love that. And that's about. I'm a normal guy. Like seriously, I'm trying to grow a cool handlebar mustache, but. So, yeah, I officially collect my retirement in May of 2024, which I am free. So, you guys are going to have, if elected, you'll have some 24-hour service because I answer my phone all the time. But anyway, that's enough about me. I have a wife and 4 kids, 5 kids, 4 or 5. 5. I have four with Courtney, and then my son, who is 22, is active duty military and currently in Missouri.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Scott Harjo. A little bit about me in the current sense. I'm the current Planning and Zoning Commissioner with the city. Have been since May of 21, or excuse me, May of 22. Started attending city council meetings back in November of 21 fairly regularly. Made it a common practice because my wife and I are invested in this little town. We each have businesses that bear our names. When I jump into something, I jump in head first. Many of you that I see in the crowd, like I've met this week or over the last couple weeks, had good discussions, learned a lot of things, and that is the goal of me joining the race for city council. The amount of studying put in for planning and zoning, state statutes, local ordinances, zoning regulations, they're all imperative to what a city council role is, and then some. So with that, I have a lot of experience when it comes to large-scale management. I was a program manager and software development manager, software development director. The programs that I oversaw had $90 million budget annually. We had 500 headcount, and about 18,000 working parts in all of these projects. So I'm no stranger to large-scale management in that sense. But in my day job, this is probably as clean as anybody in this room has ever seen me, because most of the time I'm covered in dust and dirt and grime because I'm a metal fabricator. I have a little shop up on the hill, and I'm fortunate in the sense that because I have that small business, I can roll the door down, come down, do my duties for planning and zoning, and hopefully as your next city councilman. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Jenny Workla. My team and I knocked on hundreds of doors throughout town. I will state here the concerns the public have mentioned to us in person. I'm not going to take this time for me to introduce myself. You can just find that on Facebook or on your program. As a retired first sergeant with the Special Operative Community, it was my job to take the concerns to a higher authority. As a civilian, I will do that now. Number one, water. Where is the collaboration between the city and county to make sure we're protecting the future for our water resources? 2, roads. Some of the main arterial roads are good, however, the side roads on the majority of our streets are in horrible disrepair. 3, pool. Why is the pool taking years to be completed? Why hasn't there been a contract bid in place before tearing it out? Many homes in that area have depreciated due to the lack of follow-through. 4, businesses. If a privately owned business has a hybrid business relationship with the city, who's ensuring these contracts are not expiring without proper communication between all parties involved? 5, playgrounds. There may be ADA compliant playgrounds, but there's no ADA compliant access to those playgrounds. 6, fiber. Yes, people want fiber, but many don't. What is the city's contingency plan if they do not get enough people to sign up for local improvement district 2? Send back the $1.5 million ARPA money? We can't legally keep it. 7, law enforcement. Why is law enforcement paid so little for the demands of their job? Again, this is not about me. These are the constituents' questions, and they want to be apprised of the city's issues.
Hi, good evening. My name is Brendan McCarthy. It's so great to see you all here. I see some familiar faces, some I haven't met yet. But I'm excited you're all out here to ask us all questions and to see what we're all about. A little bit about myself. Born and raised in Boise. I know that's kind of a hot topic, but my family's been there since 1938, so we were definitely established way before, the big expansion and boom and everything. Went to school, graduated Boise State, criminal justice degree, or bachelor's in criminal justice. I also had a bachelor's in philosophy, and then I also had a minor in environmental studies with water emphasis. My wife and I here, some of you know her, Carly, we moved here in 2021 early because we wanted to raise our kids, our 3 children now, in hometown values that we grew up with. That's something that I missed in Boise, and I feel is something that is gone. And that's why we moved. And we've come here to Mountain Home because we believe in the hometown values that are here at Mountain Home. A little bit more about myself. I was in Boise. I was part of the Boise Bench Lions Club, and then I went over to the Boise State Lions Club. Currently, I'm with Mountain Home Lions Club. I've always had this sense of community involvement. When I was at Boise State, I was a trip leader with their outdoor program, taking students out and everything, just to make sure that they all have that experience, because as we know, Idaho is a gem, and we tried to keep it a secret, but it's definitely grown. So currently I work with NIFC as an HR professional, been there for about 5 years. Prior to that, I worked with Hayden Beverage for about 8. So I'm pretty much kind of the guy that I make a commitment, I put roots down. That's my whole kind of philosophy in that. So I started going to city council meetings early 2022 because, as I said, my wife and I moved here with our kids, and we wanted to take an interest in this town. We need to know what's going on, and so that's just a little bit about me. So thank you so much.
Everybody's taller than me. Gotta get on my tippy toes. So one favor real quick before we get going. Please silence your cell phones. It's disrespectful to the candidates while they're trying to answer your questions and inform you. So if not, it's a $100 fine payable to Jimmy Shanahan. I will collect. Okay, so we have some questions that have been given to us. So this is from Terry Manduca. So this is to all council candidates. To date, approximately $3 million has been spent on the fiber optic program. Most of the money paid for this program has been diverted from the general fund, aka our tax dollars. The additional $1.2 million has been allocated towards fiber from the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA funds. These funds are to be spent on water, sewer, or fiber. Do you believe that investing in a service that is not required and that is unavailable to a sector of our community is a wise investment for our city? And how would you have used this money? Mac, you are first.
So when it comes to the fiber optics and money coming into our town, I'm a firm believer, and I like small steps, taking our steps forward. Eventually, we currently need it for our businesses. If you go to the Mountain Home website page, it gives you a good description of everything and the terabytes, the data, all the information that you need to know in order for this to take place. I understand it's getting phased in. We got to take small steps to do it. Businesses are going to require a bigger bandwidth, not just that, but residential. The more we get, the less it's going to be. I understand the concern, and I understand from our constituents on the concern, because some people don't want that. It's come in this direction. I think it's going to help the city, and maybe down the road it'll be cheaper for everybody to chip in. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, let's talk about fiber. So, fiber is definitely needed. COVID showed us that. With everybody going to online school, people working from home, it slowed everything down at home. Whether I was trying to work, my daughter was trying to watch TV or do her schoolwork, it's slow. You don't see anybody else coming out to put more lines in, bringing in other forms, so it's definitely needed. I would have spent the money exactly where it went. In fact, I'm the one that...
I've been waiting for fiber. It's gonna be in my neighborhood real soon, and here's the deal, we need it. Technology is advancing, and we can't be stuck in the past. And a lot of the businesses that we would like to bring in to Mountain Home are gonna require high-speed internet. Not high-speed today, and then it's not working tomorrow, or having to search through 5 different providers to get a good signal, and depending on where you're at in the neighborhood. So fiber's the way to go, and I'm a firm believer in that, and I would advocate for it. And as far as the money spent, I don't know where it came from, but if I was on city council, I would have had my part in that, and I would have looked at the issues and made sure that it was being spent appropriately. So, but as far as fiber, 100% for it, and I cannot wait to get it.
From the beginning, fiber has been a problem. From an operations perspective, I have experience in this type of thing. The plan wasn't set out correctly. We have no subject matter expert on staff. We have part-time, seasonal employees. The head count is not there to get to the point that we need to if this project is going to be successful. So far, I have not seen a project charter that outlines what the end goal was and how to achieve that goal. So as a part of me being a processes involved guy, I hope to help bring, as we progress through these new local improvement districts, try and refine our processes, optimize what we can, streamline, and hopefully by the time we get to that point, start actually saving money, because we're hemorrhaging money on this project now.
Thank you, Terry, for the question. As a recent, the fiber optic project has cost our city $2 million with only 29 working customers. If not enough people sign up for LID, what is the city going to do with the ARPA money? It's COVID money, we can't legally keep it. I'm in a quote here, the final rule is a document, it was written by Congress outlining the ARPA money should be spent. This is what they say. The final rule requires recipients to address the affordability needs of low-income consumers in accessing broadband networks. Is this project supplying to low income? Have you seen the startup fee? In my opinion, the city should never be a contractor, a developer, or service provider. In addition, the only head of the department is the mayor. If the fiber did come to fruition, then it will be on the city, your tax dollars, to pay for the maintenance, the 24/7 technical support, and customer service. Never trust the city to do anything efficient in a timely manner. Again, this is creating big government and smothering free enterprise. To answer your question specifically, Terry, this project's providing an unfair advantage for the government. All the ARPA money could be going to water, sewer, necessary infrastructure. The city could be spending the money on this, and there are already 10 internet service providers in Mount Home already. Starlink is excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry, for the question. This is a huge topic here in town and something I'm very adamant against. The reason for is because of the way that ARPA funds were spent. I went to the public hearing and I had put out and said that I was against the fiber if we're going to be using ARPA funds for it, especially since the whole community is not benefiting from that use of that money. It's a federal grant. We need to making sure that it's good use for all the public here, not just LID number 1 and then hope we get into LID number 2 and maybe by, LID number 5 we have some money left over. I don't think that's the right way to go. Again, we're looking at fiber. I've heard everyone say we need it, but we need to get back to the basics here in town. You have roads that need to be fixed. You have infrastructure that needs to be done. Your water pipes. You've got a new lagoon that we're looking at trying to expand on. That's what I would have used the ARPA funds on, is wastewater. We need to do that. We use some of it, we're going to use some of it for the well. It was voted on that the stipulation was that we'll approve the LID number 1, and then we get the vote down the line, and now it's being used for fiber, and I don't think that's right. So, again, thank you, Terry, for the question, but my stance on it is I would have used it for something else besides fiber. Thank you.
Okay, so our second question is from Taryn Mitchell, and James will be the first one to answer. What are the checks and balances that you would employ to protect the citizens from our local government's overreach?
So I will say, first and foremost, every citizen has a voice. We have city council meetings twice a month. There's a 3-minute time where everyone can come in and speak. We need your voices. We want your voices to be heard. You need to come speak at those meetings. If we get your voices heard, then we can act upon that information. That's all I have.
So the question is, what are the checks and balances that you would employ to protect our citizens from local government overreach?
So, like I said earlier, I'm a normal guy. I put my pants on just like you. I do everything just like you. I drive on the same crummy roads. I pay taxes just like you. I do all that. So here's the thing is, I would represent the citizens. I don't know, I mean, these guys are smart. They've been researching all this stuff about fiber and all the payments and stuff. What I do know is people. So I may not know all that, but I'll learn that. But what I do know and I've been good at for a long time is people. And so I'm a people person. I am compassionate and caring and understanding. And so I'm always available, and that's important. I want you guys to be able to talk and tell me your opinions and things like that when you see me. I'm not afraid to talk to you. Nothing you can say will offend me. So if you have things you want to say, bring it forward. As far as the overreach of the government, we're the watchdogs. We're protecting your money. And I'm here to tell you, nothing's going to get by me. And I'm not afraid of anybody on city council or in the mayor position, whoever that may be at the time, doesn't matter. I work for you, and that's my promise, so I'll make that happen.
I have a specific example where I've done exactly this. Ordinance was presented by city staff, a change to how the city, as an entity and municipality, can construct something in your neighborhood or throughout commercial zones or industrial zoning. When that came before us, the ordinance was written to give carte blanche to the city to do what they want, where they want it, without permit. Pass-through system. Cutting all of the red tape when it comes to the city, but not protecting the citizens. So we had a joint planning and zoning meeting with city council, P&Z. At that meeting, some city council, some P&Z were all saying, we do not want this because there are problems with letting government dictate without checks and balances. We have those open meeting laws. At the state level, we have open meeting ordinances when it comes to our local ordinances. It's 1-10-1, if I remember correctly. So, with that, I offered the solution to say, if the city is going to build something in commercial zoning, industrial zoning, have at it. Do what you want to do in those areas because the area of impact and the level of impact is very small. My problem was the scope of uncertainty and where we sit today and where we could be in 25, 30 years, fiber optic being one of those things. 20, 30 years ago, do you think any of us had any clue that that was on the horizon for our town? No. That scope of uncertainty gets bigger and bigger. So why write the check that gives carte blanche to a future government? So I made the resolution and the suggestion to take that residential zoning off the table. So everything in residential or within 500 feet of residential still had to undergo the conditional use permit process to protect the residents and give them a voice.
Okay, so this one wasn't pre-written, so I can't yell at you, sorry. But this is pretty much my heart into it, is what I've seen on council. You wanna know about city council? It's divided, all right? The mayor should never be the tiebreaker vote. Never should be, okay? So you have two people on one side that will vote a certain way, two people on the other side that will vote another way. The mayor is the tiebreaker every single time. That should not how it be. That should not how it should run. You have to educate yourself, and then you have to bring the issues to light. I'll be honest with you. Before I ran this, I was in the dark. I didn't know. Actually, I'm kind of stressed out on how much issues there are coming to light. That there's a lot. Okay, so you have to educate yourself, and then you have to speak to the people, educate the people, so they know. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Taryn. Just want to start out, we live in Idaho. We are very much for property rights, our individual rights. We are small, limited government. And that's what we need to get back to. It comes back to when we look at the Idaho statute, what does a municipality have to offer its citizens? There's 4 things: streets, your water, wastewater, your fire department, your police. That's all. We don't need any of this extra, things to go off of fiber and all this and that. I was at the planning and zoning joint meeting when there was a discussion of should we let, cities have any right to just outright permit use on any of their city property. I don't think any time it should be allowed that, because you, as a citizen, you still have to go and get your permission and everything and still get your conditional use permit. Why should the government be any different than you as an individual? So again, we need to get back to what is the city supposed to provide, what are the checks and balances, and we're basing it off of state code and the code the codes of the ordinances of the city. So again, let's just get back to the basics. So thank you.
Checks and balances, this is huge noise. Sorry about that. huge going on in our government right now, the overreach from big government to our government at this point in time. When it comes to it, I look for facts. I look for facts from you guys. If you disagree with me, that's great. I will still listen. I will take it because it's a different point of view, different vision of what you have and what you see versus my vision. And I'll express that to you and I'll agree to disagree, but I will not lie to you. I'll bring my information to you that I know. And when it comes to other things that are happening in the city, I don't have the answers to them, but I know how to get those answers and I know who to ask. There's a lot of things that are taking place, a lot of good things moving forward, bringing these businesses in that help us, that offset some of this tax revenue that we're looking at, that's going to help us in the long run. It may not be helping us right now, but in the future, it's going to bring in money for us. And that's not to overlook our older generation, okay? That's setting up our younger generation, and we need to start looking out for ADA things and things like that when it comes to our overreach. That's all I have right now. Thank you.
Okay, the next question is from Swana. What are the most pressing issues in the office you are seeking? Dan, you're up first.
Well, I mean, I think we've covered most of them. Would be the pool, fiber, housing, and the new affordable housing that's going in. I've seen that talked about on the internet. The mayor, gosh, it's been going on forever. There's a lot of pressing issues. The rec district stuff. There's a number of issues. I don't know what else to answer. I mean, those are the issues. I mean, that's what I'm reading about. That's what I hear from people, my wife or whoever. So there's a lot, but they can all be worked out, and most of them will be completed, and we won't have to worry about them anymore. We'll just find something else to complain about, I bet. But wait, it is.
Pressing issues tend to evolve over time, right? Today, it's the pool, the fiber, we get complaints about, oh, well, there's a new mountain home sign. Tomorrow, those pressing issues are going to be different. So, in the sense of what pressing issues we have today, some of those are caused by not having enough city outreach. We have very few liaisons from the city council or the city themselves out to these third-party or parallel agencies like the school district, sheriff's department. We need to create strategic bonds through that outreach where each one of the city council members either picks or is tasked with, you are going to go attend these meetings. You are going to bring back the knowledge that you acquired from there, share it with city council, and then plan on having joint meetings. We have very few joint meetings between, say, planning and zoning and city council, and that is such a narrow scope between those two entities. I'm hoping as a city councilman that we can up that outreach to these agencies and bolster what once was and bring back what could be.
Alright, so with door knocking, number one, not number one, but big one that was brought up was water. Mountain Home Irrigation District canals recharge the ground for the wells. There are 17 wells that serve potable water to the city Mountain Home. As we know, we live in a desert and water is a precious resource. If we had a bad water year, that recharge slows down. With the rapid growth within the city, the question is, from these residents, will there be enough water for all the new city residents? With the county, a few years back, the county won water rights for Anderson Dam. The county is able to pump 200 cubic feet a second out of Anderson Dam for Elmore County. This gave the citizens of Elmore County an easement to bring water to Little Camas so the water can run down the canals. The county needs $40 million pump station. If the pump is established, then the city could ultimately be benefited by generating electricity out of the canal system. The city will be the biggest beneficiary of the Anderson Dam water. However, there has been zero collaboration between the city and county to make the pump come to fruition. You need to become educated. Ground levels are declining substantially. City growth has grown substantially. The big question is, does the city have enough EDUs for the growth of Mountain Home?
issues that we're dealing with, and depending on the person you talk to, they can be ranked differently. For me, on my platform, what I've been running on is budget is one of the biggest things. Second, infrastructure. Third is growth here. How are we going to have smart growth in that? I think those are the things that we need to focus on, but I would like to point out, before we can even solve any of these problems, we need to be open and communicating and get back to talking in that. I think we should have some town halls. There's been a lot of issues that have come up, and I feel a lot of people haven't had a voice. I went to city council, and I had voiced a minute about saying, hey, I think we should have some town hall meetings. Why not? We had fiber going on. We had issues with the water, with the lagoons, the wells. We need to be talking to each other because we are a community here. At the end of the day, we're all neighbors, and we all want the same thing. We want Mountain Home to stay Mountain Home and raise our children and having, the life that we want here. Once we get going on with that, we can start working on partnerships. We need to be good partners with our county. There are certain topics or certain issues that we could be partnering on. I know a lot of people are upset about the pool. I think there was maybe other ways we could have gone about that instead of just writing a blank check and saying, we need this. I'm not against amenities. I love it. I think I have kids. I'd like a pool in that. But if we're not doing partnerships, like working with the county in that, we can't get anywhere. But going back to my saying, budget, infrastructure, and growth, smart growth is the things that I think are precedents for us right now. So, thank you.
Once again, I'd like to reiterate some of the things they have said. Our community involvement, I think Scott brought it up. I'm 100% community involvement. I like to get with people, I like to interact with people. And with the community involvement and being a liaison for the people, by the people, I would bring that to our government, I'd bring it to our city councilmen to voice the opinions of what people have to say. One of the main things which parallels with that is trust. I want to build the trust of individuals as well. You may not like what I have to say, and I may not like what you have to tell me, but know the fact I'm not going to sit there and blow smoke. You're going to get what you asked for. That's it, thank you.
Is concerned about. In the future, we need to have the partnerships to help us support any goal that we might have. If we have the partnership, we can work through the problems and find resolution. That's the whole goal of city council. Not to gripe back and forth with each other, not to go on attack about anything. It is to get stuff done, because the faster and more efficient we get it done, the better your taxpayers, or the better your tax dollar is spent.
The county are our neighbors, are our friends, okay? We need proper professional communication and collaboration between the county and the city. We share EMS, dispatch, extrication services, and animal services. Paying for multiple entities gets very expensive. We need to do a thorough look at the logistics and the cost, and look at the checks and balances, and make sure they're being met.
Going back to my previous answer to the question, it's partnerships, really. I think that's where we need to go because, excuse me, if you don't have the partnership and you can't work with your neighbors, how are you going to get anything done? It's just going to cost you more. I talked about the pool. I know there's a lot of bad blood about the Western Elmore County District, but I always wondered why we couldn't work together to come up on something so that we're not getting double taxed necessarily and spending it. You're going to have a pool that's open for maybe 3-4 months of the year. Now we're going to talk about spending money on that and trying to figure out how we're going to pay for that. Where if we had a pool that was indoor in that, we could be spending, it would be open all year round. So we're going back to the budget. But my point being is that we need to get that partnership. Looking at the base, we're all working together and we're all in this together because we know that this is our community. And I think that's what we really need to focus on is the partnerships and getting back that. So, thank you.
number one goal, if I were on city council, would be the interaction with the community. Everyone out here has an amazing bunch of ideas that they'd like to do for our city. I think we need to listen to it, we need to bring it to the table. That would be my number one goal, is to get involved with the organizations and to hear what needs to be said. Thank you.
So my number one goal, which has been and will be, is helping Mountain Home provide for the citizens. We do everything we can, but in order to do that, I mean, I hear everyone say they want, this restaurant, or we need this business. In order to get that, we also need the population. In order to get the population, we need the housing. And that's what we're working on. To be honest with you, if we're not growing, we're dying.
So, my one goal, I think, obviously, we all have the same goals as city council candidates. We want to build a budget, we want to do all the things that you see pasted everywhere on campaign pages. We're all going to attempt to do those. I think we all go in with those intentions. But what I really want to focus on, and my goal would be, if elected, and I would assume anyone on these, and the candidates here, would be to build the confidence back up in our city council and our government. Because there is none. If you read, people are upset, and for whatever reason. So I think that the trust, the open transparency in the government needs to be, it needs to be. And I think, like one of y'all mentioned town hall meetings and things of that nature, I think those are great. You guys need to be aware of what's going on. But you guys need to be able to trust in the system. And I think we need to work together as she said earlier, with each city council member. There is a division, you can see it, you can feel it, watching it on YouTube. You know what I mean? So there is a division. Like I said, we need to work together and build your trust back, build your confidence back, so you guys know that you have the confidence is there, and let's get things done that are best interest of the city, for the residents. That's all I got.
Okay, so the next question is from Paula Riggs. This is all city council members, or candidates, and Jen, you'll be the first one to answer this. In regards to the golf course, what is your stance on the current operations and the future operations? What is your plan to sustain the current and future success for the golf course?
I'm ready for this one. I love the golf community. We need the golf community. This question was brought up recently because of the tensions between a private entity that had a relationship with the city. Communication was poor to non-existent, okay, when you're dealing with the contract. This contract was up over a year ago. Extension after extension with a third-party assessment that cost the taxpayers $22,500 to see what? Is TJ Gomez doing his job? What I gathered was communication coming from the city to a private business was non-existent. He did reach out many times. This is not a way to run a city. As of September, the lovely ladies in the Golf Pro shop didn't even know if they were going to have a job the 1st of October. This is not a way how you treat the citizens of Mountain Home or the people who support this beautiful amenity. I support the golf course, I support TJ Gomez, and I support the future of this beautiful amenity.
Great question. I want to start off first that I think it's important what happened with the contract and how long it took to get this figured out, and we're still ongoing trying to figure this out. You do not run a business this way. If you're taking people and stringing them along in that, and you're trying to just keep it going and there's no communication, again, going back to the partnership, having that open communication, figuring out what's going on, you're already setting yourself up to fail. And I think that's just a bad business practice, and especially as a local government, you shouldn't be doing those things. That's what takes away the trust from us citizens. And I think that's what we really need to focus on this, is that it was a bad business practice. I think a lot of information was going out as well about it on the golf course and how much, it's costing us, and we have to transfer from the general fund and that. But I also think that unless you were part of that golfing community, you really didn't know how much TJ has taken that golf course and brought it up to where it is today. TJ has reached out, from what I understand, he's reached out with new ideas and trying to figure out how to close that gap on the deficit, and I applaud him for that, because that is someone who cares in the community and understands what they're doing is great. I mean, look at the opportunities they've provided for the kids with golfing and everything. I mean, it's just amazing. So we need to be supportive of those things. Again, I think it's bad business how we've treated it, and I think that we should be really backing TJ and going, hey, this isn't fair, and we need to figure this out. So, thank you.
I think this is a good topic, especially for one of the questions that we had earlier about checks and balances. This is where we need the checks and balances. When it comes to the golf course, it's an asset for the city. We should be making money off of it, just like anything else. We utilize it, there should be a profit, not subsidizing anything and everything, but we are giving a luxury back to the community as well. So that's why there's that subsidy about that. When it comes to accountability, who's at fault? Maybe both parties are at fault. Is there one individual at fault? Is there a whole bunch of people at fault? I don't know. I haven't done a complete investigation and asked everyone certain questions, but at this time, it seems like there's a bunch of people at fault, and I think that the paperwork that was handed to them, from my view, is a little bit messy. And that just comes back to the checks and balances that we need in our community. Thank you.
Golf course. So, there is no doubt in my mind, TJ does an amazing job for this golf course. I've said that from the beginning, and I'll say it till the end. But I also think that we needed a clearer picture about the golf course, which is what that study provided to us. It showed us many places where we could make improvements. It showed us things that we were doing good, that TJ was doing good, the superintendent was doing good, but it also gave us some spots where we could improve. Some of that was fees. We are very, very inexpensive in comparison to many other golf courses. Those fees haven't been adjusted very much in quite a while. So that's one of the things that we're looking at. And then we have the restaurant. That was another piece we had to work on. And it kind of sucks because in order to look at TJ's contract, we had to know for sure what was going on with the entire golf course. It's not just TJ, it's everything. We want to improve everything. I've got some awesome ideas that'll help improve the golf course, improve the ability to play. The amenities are out there, and those are ideas that I'm bringing forward as we move forward. Thank you.
Wipe it out and put it in a theme park. Just kidding. I love the golfers. So, I've read things on the internet. I'm not privy to all the information that some of you might have. I didn't watch all the meetings. I wasn't at all the meetings for the discussions that took place over this contract and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really have any input because I haven't, like Max said, we haven't investigated. I haven't really, TJ's my neighbor across the street, but I don't go over there and talk to him and find out what's going on. So if I were in that position and this was something that came across our table at city council, then I would look into that further and figure it out. You know what I mean? That's something I would do. But to only get bits and pieces of the information from the internet or from what I hear on the street, and then come up with I can't do that. I'm sorry. But anyway, I do love golf. Not playing it, but I do love the golfers, so.
Golf course. During the city workshop about the golf course, hearing from the Troon Agency, Matt Bundy put it very eloquently. The golf course is a community amenity. There may be an option and a path forward in terms of the contract negotiation. Contracts can get really messy sometimes they can get really granular. One of the issues that I identified early on before we ever got the golf before we ever got the golf report back, was that the accounting seems muddy from the outside. We have a mix of the city having a requirement of the golf course operating on the city's point of sale system, and it made that accounting muddy through who gets charged for, say, the 3.5% transaction fee. TJ's Hustle is TJ's Hustle. I love it, right? The guy works really, really hard to do things for our community, and it should be recognized as that. When it comes to future contract negotiations, I think we can learn from this one. We are learning a little bit. Back when this contract was written up, it was fairly weak. We have an opportunity to look at how granular we can get in the future, down to the detail of splits, what the actual costs are, whose ownership of what portion of the project there is. That's really critical to define upfront, so we don't end up in the same problem 7-8 years down the road.
Okay, so the next question is from Chad Crosley, and I think Brandon, you're gonna be starting this round. What is your opinion with regards to the proposed casino?
Here we go, deep water. You're right. Great question. My wife and I, we didn't move to Mountain Homes to live in a casino town. I am all for property rights and do what you want when you're following code of ordinance and everything. But I have a real kind of hard time with the casino because I feel like as a community, we really don't get a say in it. With the process, how it's going through of getting an approval from the Department of Interior, and then the governor has to sign off on it, and now it's a land swap. It's tribal land, so how are we gonna figure out taxes? They're not doing taxes, so I really have a hard time with the casino because I think it has the potential to change the identity here in Mountain Home. And I'm not for it, so that's it for me, thank you.
That is a really tough one. I'm a little for and I'm a little against. There's pluses and there's minuses, and there's so many each way from the law enforcement aspect. What is it going to bring to this town? What are we going to see? What's going to happen to our community? Then again, is it going to bring money in? Is it supplying the jobs? When it comes down to water rights issues, are we going to be able to get the tribal community to help us out to fight for more water? When it comes down time to it, maybe, maybe not. I really don't know. But it is out of our hands somewhat, and that's a tough question. I can see pluses and I can see minuses, and which one outweighs the other. Thank you.
So when it comes to the casino, I will say that I have mixed feelings about it.
Side concerns of crime and drugs and prostitution, whatever else you can imagine is going to be coming in. So you think about that kind of stuff. And once again, we gotta take everything into account. What's it gonna bring? What are the positives? Are we gonna get a movie theater? Are we gonna get nice restaurants? Indoor swimming pools that you can go to? There's gonna be a ton of things. Movie theater. I mean, there's a ton of things that could bring, that could be beneficial to everyone. But again, there's also negatives. So what's going to weigh out? And when the time comes, and I don't know whenever that's gonna be, if it's gonna be anytime soon, or 5 years, or 10 years, before that thing's even considered. We would have to reevaluate where Mountain Home is at that time, and see what the deal is. But at this time, I'm mixed. I'd be more against than I would be for, just because I think at this point in time, it is something that would be too big for Mountain Home, but Mountain Home's growing. Mountain Home is gonna grow, so.
I'm in a unique position with this topic. I am not a tribal member of either of the tribes that are proposing casinos here, so I have no immediate involvement there. The 10 years that I mentioned with big programming came at a gaming company. I know how they work from the inside, every nut and bolt. I'm also highly invested in this town, so this is a tough topic. When it comes to the complexity of having a relationship with tribal entities, we as a city, if that entity does not allow us a portion of control in the sense of they're allowing us through MOU to bring in fire, police, EMS services, again, going back to contracts, this is where the strength of contract comes in. If they choose, and I'm going to be very honest with you, tribal law is very stout. If they choose to put that on their land, which exists outside of the city's property, there ain't a thing that any one of us can do about it. What we can do is create strong MOUs. We know that they want to rely on our services. They've already, through all the presentations, they've talked about wanting to get on our infrastructure, sewer, water, fiber, and all of these things. But how do you bill an entity like that who's not continuously paying property taxes to our town? Those business relationships have to be very, very granular. Every single portion of every single aspect of the topic we need to understand how to be equitable, but also make it very profitable for the city. They're willing to pay and open up their paycheck. Ooh, let's play ball. Let's sit down at the table and talk through every one of those aspects. If we have the collaboration, the partnerships, and all of the groundwork put together for all of these partnerships that we hope to have now and what we have in the future, we can get there to a really, really strong contract with them.
Scott Hargel is a brilliant man. I could not follow up on that at all. Not even gonna try. And honestly, Mr. Danzak, the words would be very similar. Yes. So I actually do not have a stance on this, believe it or not. Believe it or not, I'm strong on certain things. But when I did my door knocking event recently, we hit hundreds of homes, and this didn't come up once. It did not come up once. What I think happens with the city and the residents of the city is they're concerned at the moment now, right? This is an idea that's out there. We don't know if it's tomorrow or 10 years from now. And so, again, the culture of how our city might be later on, right? That's what we have to determine at that time. But one thing I will do, it's never Jenny's voice, it's your voice, okay? That's why I wanted to meet out with the community and talk with you and to see how you felt on certain issues. So again, I've run through the community, ask you your opinions on it, weigh it, and then if it came to that, so be it. But yes, always go to the experts.
This next question is just for Dan. Are you the current mayor's son-in-law? If so, what is the city's contingency to curb any chance of nepotism?
I am married to Courtney, who happens to be the stepdaughter of Mayor Sykes. Now, I've gotten this question, I've received it a couple of different times. We don't even know if the mayor is going to be elected mayor. It could be somebody else, so that question will be null and void. But if people think for 1 second that I'm going to get up there and be a puppet for anybody, you're mistaken. Bottom line. So, and I've made that very clear. You will get me, and you will not get anybody else in my ear chirping, none of that. I will collaborate with other city council members to do what is best for the city and the residents. That's how it'll work. So, I mean, I don't need any extra stress, right? I can just go back and shop and babysit my daughter, you know what I mean? So, I'm not in this to gain, I don't owe anybody anything in life. Nobody owes me anything in life. I'm a free agent, so it's a good thing, right? I've got common sense, so I'm not gonna do anything stupid. Because then everybody will be like, I told you so, and I'm not gonna let that happen. Okay?
Okay, so this next question, I might confuse myself when I ask it. So this is from Gail Grossman. Water is limited. The 1938 Anderson Ranch plan has to be followed. Delaware County is in the talks with Ada County. As a dry county, no extra water. Can the city limit growth? Mac, that's you.
Thank you. I apologize, I'm not as fluent in that right now when it comes to the 1938 Water Rights Act or from Anderson and everything. I wish I had more information. That's something where I would have to give it to Elmore County, talk to them, figure out what my platform would be on it. I know it's a huge issue for the town, but that's more information than I'm privy to at this time, and I just want to be honest with you. Thank you.
Water is a concern. So is housing. Do we limit housing? No, we permit what we can control and for the water that we have. We have a certain amount of EDUs and we cannot go over that. If we reach that limit, there is no more building.
I'll have to research this and get back to you on that, because I have zero clue on that, so, sorry, I don't know anything. People complain about the water. I know they're trying to get water coming in from the base, or however that's gonna work, things I hear, but, I don't have all the information necessary to give you an answer.
Real quick, in the interest of integrity into the process, I'm not aware if we asked, or if we stated who asked the previous question.
Oh, for him?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I thought I did, sorry. Robert Stats. Justin Stats.
Okay. Excellent. Water is a constant topic of planning and zoning. It's a constant topic of city council. It's a constant topic on Facebook. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of information that is half-truths. City council is exposed to what they're presented. Planning and zoning is the same. When it comes to current water, we have some infrastructure that allows for growth. Well-managed. Well-managed growth is the key to every talk about future growth. That includes well-managed growth of residential. In the impact fee study, it says 2030, we're expecting about another 7,000 residents in town. So if we follow on the track that looks like that kind of meteoric rise of about 50% where we're at now, an additional 50%, obviously water is going to be a very, very critical issue. When it comes to our future plans for water, we have to understand how we get to acquire water rights. Typically, right now, it's through purchasing water rights, private water rights, that then become purchased by the municipality, and thusly, us as the city, the municipality, the corporation that is the city then owns those and gets to distribute those currently. Making sure that we have appropriate taxing and impact fees to support that growth is really important. But water is always going to be a problem in this little basin. We live in the desert. It's going to be a problem. It's how we reach those solutions, looking at the historical acts, ordinances, state law. Land use is a big factor of this. There's state statutes, there's local ordinances. Those land uses will dictate that if we have development that wants to go vertical, they have to, today, they have to come pull the permits, and if there's not enough EDUs in the system to support the permits to go vertical for that portion of their project, They don't go vertical. Thanks.
Okay, I was like, maybe some of you saying, stop growth, stop growth. You cannot stop growth, okay? Growth is going to happen. I'm sorry, I'm yelling. Growth is not going, or growth is going to come. Trust me, how toxic our coastal states are. They're oversaturating Boise, and then they're coming here to Mountain Home, okay? So, you cannot stop growth, but you can slow the heck down, okay? You can slow growth down. A smart councilman with water once said, though, what's good a bathtub if you can't fill it up? Right? Simple analogy there. There's 17 wells that serve Mountain Home, and we do not, I won't say we do not, but the citizens don't know. I'm sure it's a tight-hold information there, but citizens don't know how much water is within those wells. That's why it's so important to have proper collaboration and communication with the county for Anderson Dam water, okay? The master plan that we have for the city is 5 years old. What it reflects for 2023 and 2024 is not even close to being current on how much population growth is in the city. So even if you want to try to educate yourself, you might not get the right answer. So yes, we need to, what I said earlier with my water spiel, we need to be in communication and teamwork with the county. Thank you.
Great question. It always comes up, water. It's just one of those topics, and it's something that we really need to look at and address. You'll hear a lot of times, we're going to do the Anderson Dam project, the base is going to have the Snake Water project. You hear all these big ideas and these promises, but as someone looking at the future in that, we can always start by being good stewards. We should be looking in the city. We have a lot of parks in this town that have a lot of grass in that. I'm not saying we should rip out all the grass, but we live in a desert. We should be looking at water conservation projects that we can be doing in the city that we can do now. Instead of these big hopes and dreams of, we're going to have all these projects and we're going to save ourselves. We're going to do injection wells. Are we going to look into water treatment plants and start putting mechanical or, kind of doing like what Micron does in Boise with reverse osmosis and then they inject it in the ground? That's a lot of money we're talking about to do these projects. But if we can start small and work with our partnerships with the county and the base and that, and have that collaboration, that's where we need to start. And honestly, I think it's a disservice to the town when we say, we're going to do this big project and this, and it's like, we need to be good stewards and we need to lead it by example with these small initiatives and that, and start growing into bigger and bigger projects. So, thank you.
Okay, so this is going to be the last question before you guys go into your closings. So James, you'll be the first one to start. I think this is the simplest question you guys will have all night, other than your name. What road would you fix first, and why? Let's save the hardest question for last. That's for Elizabeth, sorry.
So my quick and easy answer is the one with the biggest pothole. So we have done a lot in the last, even just couple of years in fixing roads and repairing roads. And that's gonna continue. We're gonna get them. The main roads are first. We'll get to those side roads as well. But roads definitely in this town need repair and are getting repaired.
Yeah, they're gonna get repaired, obviously. North 6 East, garbage. There's a lot, South 10th East, there's a lot of streets that need repair. Like I said earlier on, I drive on them as well, and you gotta go to the chiropractor when you're done, there's some, West 5th North was big potholes, so, there's a lot of roads. I couldn't name one, there's a lot. But North 6 East, I drive on that every day, and it's pretty gnarly. But anyway.
There are a lot of roads with problems, like back here because my truck is a rattle trap, and through driving around town, and canvassing town, talking to residents, we need strong capital improvement plan for streets. Right now, we have some ideas on what we need to look at, but in terms of the future use, I would like to see opportunities for the city residents to put their voice up front with the city council to ask our streets department to create a heat map of where these problems exist, put it out in the open, and put that into the capital improvement plans. If I had to pick one street, I would tell you that it's gonna be biased no matter what, because I might travel down this side of town and you live on that side of town. It's been very evident that we need streets improvement across the town. It's a matter of timing and affordability when we can get there. Do we have all of the project materials, the equipment to do it and to do it right? Or do we have only what it takes to patch and we need to go out for contract? There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to streets. Creating the heat map and getting what the city residents want first out in the open and work from there.
I will not give you a politician answer. There's 9 precincts within the city. I live in precinct 5. When I did my door knocking event, precinct 9 is the worst. Drive in precinct 9. I put that challenge on you. It is in terrible disrepair. My little clumsy son took a fall on the curb. He does that often, but point being is that the curbs, they're not ADA compliant. Some mothers have said, please fix these roads, fix these curbs, so I can actually get around town, okay? And I actually want to make something real quick about the ADA compliant too. There are ADA compliant playground equipment in town, but when I was door knocking, someone brought up an excellent point that I never thought of. There's many people that are disabled in wheelchairs, children that are unable to go and play on the ADA compliant playground equipment because due to the rock or something wood related, they cannot get access from their car to the equipment. Just keep that in mind, okay? There's nothing for them to play on within the city. But yes, to answer the question, precinct 9.
Another great question, another hot topic here in town. I'm not gonna give you an answer of we're gonna fix this street and this street first, because my biggest problem with the infrastructure on the streets is we need a maintenance plan. You have to look at these streets as we have to be maintaining them 5, 10, 15 years, because the approach, if you're going around and looking at streets, a lot of these streets can't be repaired with crack sealed and chip sealing that. They have to be re-asphalted. And as someone who's asking to be your voice in this town, I can't ask to sit here and say, hey, we're gonna spend your money this way and we're gonna replace all these roads. So that in 20 years, we're coming back going, hey, we didn't maintain the roads, so now we're gonna spend even more money on it. You have to maintain these roads and you have to have a maintenance plan before you even start with anything on this. You know, I think the street department really has to look or get a bigger budget. I think they're trying to do what they can. But I'm going back to, it's all about planning before you take action, because if you're going and paving a road, let's talk about West 5th Road, it's just been paved, re-asphalted. Well, what if a development comes in? Are they going to be putting all the sewer lines and everything? Now we're tearing up the road that was just repaving that. It's wasting tax dollars. We need to be smart, and I've had this on my Facebook and that, so please go look. It goes back to the stepping over the dollars to pick up the dimes. You have to be smart with your money and you have to plan, especially when you're trying to be a good steward.
I'm going to be a little subjective on this, so South 5th West, thank you. Just kidding. No, I sat on the traffic safety board for a few years, and there's a lot of issues with our roads, and I believe that there's plans in place. In the meantime, they were going to start improving them. Our streets department, they're amazing. They get out there when you have these huge potholes. I don't know who fixed the railroad crossing at 12th West, but thank you for taking care of that. That was huge. Saved some tires, and that had to do with the railroad company. But thank you.
Okay, so we are now in our final closing comments. You get 1 minute. Dan Beck, you start us off.
First off, I appreciate you guys coming out for us. Hopefully, we're honored to return that favor to you guys by representing you on city council. Other than that, I appreciate it. That's it. I mean, I'm humbled to be up here in the first place. Life kind of pushed me a little bit further off the deal there, and so did Mac. So, but yeah, it's going to be exciting. I'm excited. Either way. So that's it.
I think one of the hardest things for me in this new experience in life is touting my own experience. I've come to understand through talking with many of you familiar faces now that experience does matter. Directly applicable experience matters when it comes to heavy detail that we need to get down to make sure your tax dollars are being spent appropriately. Where we have gone wrong in the past, there are lessons to be learned. We can brag about them all we want, but there are lessons to be learned in every facet of our history. We can look to the future, we can improve our ordinances, we can improve our practices, and we can improve our operations. Thanks.
Guess I'm not conventional. So, not a typical closing here. That splash pad is being paid with URA money. That is federal money, okay? So if you hear in the next forum with any mayor candidates that say, don't worry, it's not your money, it's someone else's money, it is your money. Idaho gets 42% of our budget from grants and federal money. It goes up every year. You will be paying for it one way or the other. We pay for gas tax, grocery tax, state income tax, federal income tax, property tax, on and on and on. You are taxed too much. Idaho pays into more tax entities than any of the 6 states that touch Idaho. We're Idaho, all right? Okay, so just take that a little bit with you. Closing, people are looking for change. I am that change. However, I firmly believe that the polls will reflect what the majority wants. And if the majority votes that they don't want change and like how the city is being ran, then the citizens have spoken, and I am cool with that too. Carry on, Mountain View. All right, so tonight I'm asking for your vote. I'll be an advocate for you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you all so much for coming out. It's been fun getting to know you all. If I haven't met you, I'm really looking forward to it. I have a meet and greet this Saturday, so I'd love for you to come out, and it's at the Blue Spruce Espresso Shop. You're going to hear a lot of things tonight. You heard a lot of promises, you heard a lot of ideas and that, but I always come back to, it's something that's been in my mind is, how do we ensure that you all trust us to do the job, what we're saying, what we're going to do? I think that, I've seen it in all elections. What I implore you to do is go back to city council meetings, go back to planning and zoning. I've attended those, I've brought up ideas, I've actively participated. I haven't just spoken, complained about things, I've tried to bring ideas. I am committed to this. I'm committed to being representative of you guys and listening to you all. So, thank you so much. Take care.
It would be an honor and a privilege to be a civil servant for the citizens of Mountain Home. I want to be your voice, I want to get interaction, I want to see what you have to say, and I want to be involved with you. So please, get your family members, get everyone out there. Let's go vote when voting is up, okay? When it's time to vote. Spread the word. We have great candidates up here, and don't forget to vote for Mac and Dak and Dak and Mac. Thank you.
So, experience does matter. I agree. Like I said, I've spent 4 years on the library board. I've spent the last almost year on city council. Learned a lot in that time. You're right, we did hear a lot of promises up here, but guess what? One person is not going to change anything. it takes the full council. So, just remember when you're being promised, it's not you alone. It's a full council that makes that decision.